Wendy Klein is a fine art landscape photographer and dedicated educator. She finds her passion in preserving the world's breathtaking beauty. Her whole being resonates with the enchantment that unfolds when fervent nature photographers unite, inspiring the creation of her women's capture magic retreats. Wendy firmly believes that women like herself crave the chance to explore, create, and foster connections with kindred spirits. Through her lens, Wendy captures the serenity and tranquility that nature photography brings. Her ultimate joy lies in guiding others to seize the profound magic of Mother Nature, whether through her educational endeavours or the immersive retreat experiences she offers. Wendy strives to share her profound connection with the natural world and help fellow photographers discover the serenity and enchantment it brings. We discuss her beginnings in photography and what brought her from nursing to being a full-time professional photographer and educator, how her workshops work, and much more. I hope you enjoy the show. G'day, Wendy. Welcome to Landscape Photography World. How are you going?
I'm well, thanks, Grant. And it's finally nice to put a face to your name, long last. And thanks for having me on the show.
Thank you for being on the show. You've been on the list for a little while and I've managed to get around to getting you here. So why don't you tell people who you are and what it is that you do?
Okay, I'm Wendy Klein and I'm from Brisbane in Queensland, originally New South Wales, but married a Queenslander. So here I am. I have lived in South Australia as well. I was a nurse for 46 years and now I'm a full-time professional photographer.
Fantastic. So how did photography come from nursing?
Good question. I guess I just wanted a bit of an escape route from such a busy, hectic workload. And I've always had an interest in photography. My dad was a really good photographer back in the film days. And I didn't realise that until not that long ago when he had to go into a nursing home and we had to clean out all his garage. And he said, "Oh, do you want my camera gear?" And I said, "Oh, what camera gear is that?" I knew he had a camera, but he brings out the big box and here was his Minolta camera and he had all the lenses, he had filters. And I thought, I didn't know any of these things existed years ago, but they were all full of fungus, so I didn't bother taking them. But yeah, so I guess it was something then I thought I'd look into. And on my days off and sometimes after my shift, I'd go into the city at night and just practice photography.
Sure.
Yeah. But as a teenager, I actually had one of those little compact Kodak cameras.
Yep.
Back in the film, yeah, and you didn't know what you got until you had the film developed, and I used to send them away and get them back and look at them, and they were all blurry. And so after 12 months or so, I gave that up, and it wasn't until probably nearly 8 years ago, it'd be 8 years ago, I suppose now, that I thought, I just want something to do. And on my days off, instead of being bored, sitting at home doing nothing, and just something that would relax me and take my mind off my nursing jobs and stuff. So I took myself to a camera shop and started looking at cameras.
Cool. So what was the catalyst to make you decide to go professional? What made you say, okay, this is now something that I want to make as a career?
Dale Sharp was probably the instigator of that. He was my mentor, one of my mentors, and I did a number of one-on-one workshops with him. And I just liked his style of photography, and that's what got me into doing long exposures. And I just went in and practiced all the time, and then I had people wanting to come and shoot with me and learn from me. And that's when Dale Sharp says, "Wendy, you've got to start charging for this. You're paying money to learn what you've got and the skills that you've got. You need to start doing something about it because people are taking advantage of you." So that's what got me thinking, I'll start going that way. And
fair enough.
Yeah, so now I'm retired from nursing after 46 years and doing this full time. It didn't intend to be full time, but it has turned out that way. And I've joined forces with Timothy Poulton.
Yeah.
And now we do workshops all over the world, and I'm loving every minute of it.
Excellent. So when you plan to go out, are you visualising the scene before you go, or are you more of and putting a lot of planning up front before going on a shoot, or are you more spontaneous and waiting to see what conditions are like? And
No, I'm usually a planner because being a long exposure, because I chase cloud and I chase color, and to get that I do need cloud. So I do have to plan and look at my apps and things like that. So I am a planner, and I'm not one that just likes turning up on a location not knowing where I'm going to shoot. You turn up in the dark and you have no idea what the composition is going to be like. So I do like to plan, and if possible, I like to go and suss out the area and the location before I actually go for a shoot.
Yeah,
there is exceptions to that, like when you're traveling overseas and
of course,
places, but locally here to go and check everything out.
Do you think it's important to have goals in your photography?
I do think it's important. If you don't have goals, how can you go forward?
Sure.
Like every time I go for a shoot, I'm always challenging myself. What can I do better from when it could have been that I could have been at that location 10 times before. And when I go, each time I go, what can I do better from the shoot I did before? Where can I improve? And that sort of things.
Okay. So in setting those goals, are you looking to try and find something that's distinctive or unique in the landscape, or are you trying to be distinctive and recognizable in that sort of long exposure genre?
Yeah, that's really what I'm doing. I'm looking to establish myself as a long exposure person, and that's what everyone knows me as.
Yeah.
And I often getting messages from Instagram or Facebook, and can they book a lesson? They want to learn to take photos the way I take photos. So everyone just knows me as the long exposure person now. So which is what I like. So
what inspires you to stay motivated and experiment with new ideas and techniques in that genre?
I just guess capturing those precious moments and emotions that I get with it.
Sure.
It just, I don't know, it just does something for me. Like when I started in photography and the minute I saw it, especially Dale Sharp's photos at the time, I thought, this is what I want to do. And they're the type of photos I want to do. Like put me in a street to do street photography, and I think, oh, yuck. I hate this, because I often get asked to go and do street photography with different other photographers, but it's just not my thing. It's just, people say I've got to get out of my comfort zone, but why should I if I really enjoy something?
That's fair enough. I think a lot of people tend to think that doing lots of different things you can improve yourself, and for certain people that's quite true. But I think if you want to be really good at one thing, then you've got to practice that one thing.
I think so. And I think now, because I'm doing workshops, it's one way of getting people that they know that is what I specialize in. And that's why people are booking on the workshops, because they want to learn that technique of that genre. Of that type of photography. I think it's important to find your niche. Some people like a little bit of everything, but I don't know, long exposure just seems to be where my love is. It enriches my life somehow. I just really feel that it's just, I guess I'm at peace with it when I'm there, and I just love being there and seeing the clouds. And sometimes I do this little dance when I get the cloud and the colour that's going to come.
When conditions come together nicely, there is that little happy place inside you that you go to, and you go, yes, this is the place I want to be.
Yeah, and I guess I'm really thankful for my dad that was into photography, because I look at it that it's a gift that I've actually inherited from him. So I'm grateful for that, because he used to love doing landscapes and seascapes. So I'm grateful for that, even though it took me a while in my life to actually take it up, but it was something that I took too quickly. But then, in saying where I am now, from when I started only nearly 8 years ago, I guess I was one that just went and put my heart and soul into it. I thought, this is what I want to do. And because I'm a person that if I make up my mind to do something, I have to do it well. And the only way I could achieve that was getting out there, even after my nursing shifts, and going and practice. I didn't care what it was. I just got out there and practiced, and that's become my motto as well. There's no sense in learning something from somebody and then not putting it into practice. I know so many photographers that do workshops and then they don't touch the camera again for another 3 or 4 months, and then, oh, I've forgotten how to do this or that. But it's just getting out there and practice.
Yeah, that repetition really makes a difference. I think what a lot of people sometimes miss is that control, or the controls on the camera, knowing where they are, being able to do things in the dark or blindfolded or with your eyes shut, as some people might refer to it. It's an important part of being in control of the tool that you're using is a big part of making that real for yourself in terms of being able to express yourself.
Oh, absolutely agree 100%. And I often get told, oh, you take good photos because you've got a great camera, an expensive
camera. I love that line.
And I say to them, look, your camera can take just as good as the photo that I'm taking with mine. Oh, no, it's not. My camera's only $1,000 or something, and you've got a $9,000 camera. Yeah. I said, you've got to know your camera. It doesn't matter what camera you've got, you can still take good photos, but you've got to learn the camera that you've got.
Yeah, definitely. And the best, the saying, or that old saying of the best camera is the one that you've got at the time.
Exactly. Absolutely. Yeah. When I had my very first lesson, I nearly gave up photography. I booked a local photographer up here in the area, and because I went and bought this, it was a crop camera that Ted's Camera sold me, and because I had no idea about crop or full frame at the time.
Yep.
So I booked a lesson, and it was just so technical that I just had no idea of the terminology that he was speaking about, because I thought that's not in my nursing vocabulary. And he was even like basic things like you've got to look at the composition when you're taking photos. And I'm thinking, what the heck's composition? What's this new word? And all these sorts of things. And I nearly put the camera away and thought, oh, I sell it. But then I thought, no, I'm determined to do this. And that's when I went to a Nikon seminar, and Dale Sharp was one of the guest speakers there.
Right.
When he was showing a lot of his photos, and I thought, wow, this is the type of photos I want to do. And he seemed like a really great guy. And he was. And yeah, so that's when I booked a lesson, and then it just snowballed from there.
Yeah. I think that process of mastering your craft is definitely a key element for success in landscape. And in terms of putting the hard yards in to understand field work and processing and shooting and camera control, how much of that do you try to instill into your workshop attendees?
Having control, you mean, over the camera?
Oh, no, just having to put in the effort. What's the saying, that 10,000 hours to master a craft or something?
Yeah. No, we always tell people what we teach, they have to go and put into practice. And even though it might be repetitive, but that's the only way they're going to learn.
Yeah.
For me, with a camera in my hand, I never, ever feel alone. It's always just me and the camera, and it's just something that I really enjoy having, and it's something I really can't be without now. It's part of my life. Some people say I'm obsessed, but I don't know. It's just, unless people really understand how can I say it, the rapport you have between yourself and the camera.
Yeah.
I don't know whether that's quite making sense, but
no, that makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, whereas I do enjoy shooting a lot on my own, and I go out on my own a lot.
Sure.
Only because I'm challenging myself each time.
Mm-hmm.
And I know sometimes when you shoot with a lot of other people, there's a lot of competition, and they can't wait to get home and put their photos up. And then I've been with others where they put their photos, and some others in the group have put their photos up, and they'll be comparing that. And do you think mine's better than this person? And I don't like any of that, because everyone's photography is their own journey, and everyone is at a different place in their journey. So I don't look at it as that you shouldn't ever compare from one photographer to another.
No. I think competing against yourself is actually the place that most people need to put their effort into, rather than comparing themselves to others. Yes, you can look at the work of others and say, okay, that's inspiring, that's something that I want to strive to achieve, and I might not be there yet, but
exactly. But it gives you an incentive to get there to where they are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's a lot of great photographers in the world, some that people never ever have heard of.
Absolutely.
And there's a lot of top photographers that never ever enter competitions. Like, people think if you enter competitions and you win, you're the best out there, but I don't agree with that.
No, nor do I. Yeah.
No, it is something good. I think everyone maybe should try and enter some competition, at least at some stage in their photography journey, because I think it does wonders for them.
Yep.
And then they're competing and just seeing what others they're up against. But yeah, I've entered a number of competitions, and it's getting quite expensive to enter them now as well.
It is,
yeah. But I think it's good. And then if you want to enter that same one again the following year, well, you look at challenging what you did from the year before. Okay, this is what I got, and this is the award I got from that year. What can I do better, or what photo can I put up that might interest the judges? As we all know, every judge is different.
Absolutely. And it really does come down to those judges' preferences and biases. You can't deny that they're going to have both conscious and unconscious biases towards particular images or imagery. And those are the sorts of things that you got to keep in the back of your mind when entering competitions, I think.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. But I think photography is good for me too, because it helps me slow down. Like, I'm quite a fast-paced person, and everything's got to be done quick, and everything's got to be done on time, and everything's got to be done properly. But I guess that goes back to my nursing career, because that's what we had to do. And yeah, whereas photography, it makes me stop and think and really slow down and appreciate things that I would sometimes just naturally take for granted. Yeah.
What does success look like for you in your photography?
I guess I have been quite successful now, and like joining with Timothy Poulton, we've got quite a successful business going, partnership going together with our workshops.
Yep.
And the more we become known, and Timothy being out of it with COVID and that sort of thing, he's now getting back into it. I don't know whether Tim, but
I've seen his work. I haven't met him yet.
Yes. He used to be one of the ones that started Focus with about 6 other men at the time, and he used to sponsor the awards and was the judges on the Pano Awards. He's known as the Pano King. But so now he's getting back into it, and we're both working together. It's working really fine. It's working well. And when everyone gives us feedback that they just love our workshops, because we make it a fun thing as well as a learning thing.
Yeah. And what do people could expect on one of your workshops?
You mean in what they can learn, or?
Yeah, what's the experience like? Some people point people in certain directions around composition, or others might be more focused on the technical. I guess a lot depends also on the clients that you've got on the workshop. But I'm just interested in what experience somebody on one of your workshops could expect.
Yeah, composition is a big thing, and also camera settings for a lot of them. And we go through explaining why you get to these camera settings. We just don't go out there and say, this is the settings, you have to put your camera in. We like them to work out, and we explain to them why you have these settings and start thinking about the exposure triangle. Yeah, and composition is probably a huge important part of taking a photo. I've got that right composition, but doesn't mean anything, does it?
No, definitely not.
and we try and say to them, the composition you get, it's really got to tell a story. It's like someone has put their feet there and is there at the moment when they look at that photo.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
In terms of running a business, you've obviously got to wear a number of different hats, and a lot of photographers introverted, so they struggle with things like marketing, and some of them might not necessarily have all of the business skills like accounting and all those sorts of things. How do you manage that side of things, the administrative side and the marketing and so forth for yourself?
Yeah, I'm very lucky that his background is a graphic artist.
Mm-hmm.
So he looks after all the financial side of it and the advertising of the brochures and
Fantastic.
so it takes a big weight off mine because I'm not that way minded whatsoever. Yeah, so we usually have this agreement, whereas I usually get the people because I have a huge following. And I have a huge following because I'm an admin for a professional photographer over, and he's one of the judges on the Penner Awards as well. I'm his admin. I get paid to be his admin. And I have a huge following with that, and because he's done me on different interviews and that sort of thing.
Sure.
So I have a huge following with that. So it's not just the local people that are going on our workshops. We're getting people from Canada, USA, all over the place, which is great because you just don't want the locals all the time because otherwise you're not going to expand.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah. So very lucky that Tim's a graphic artist and can handle all the admin. He does all the accommodation bookings and all that.
Nice. I'm gonna have to find myself a Tim, I think.
Oh, I think so. Yeah, no, it's brilliant. Yeah, and because he's been doing tours for years all over the world, he just knows all the spots and the places and places to stay. And so far with what we've done together, the accommodation and everything's just been spot on. And yeah, he's just a great guy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What's the most important thing to remember when running or hosting a workshop?
Remaining professional.
Yep.
Is number one. And coming down to people's level, to the level that they are.
Yeah.
You soon work out how can I say, whether you need to speak to them in really simple lay terms or whether you can go a little bit more technical in how you're speaking to them. And that's what I often get feedback is that they say the way I'm teaching is very simple, that they understand and they can remember. You start getting too technical, then people don't remember as easy.
No, that's right.
Yeah. So I say keep it simple and so they can all understand. But yeah, and go at the pace that they are. Like some people you might have to explain 10 times over and over. And I don't care if they ask me 100 times, I will still go over and I'll say no question is ever a silly question. Because some people say, oh, this question might be a bit silly. And I said, no question is ever silly, because I know when I first started, exactly how I was. And sometimes you're not game to even ask a question when you first start out because others listening in the group might think, oh, they're not up to where we are thing. Yeah. So everybody's different and you just have to gauge the group when you've got them together. And you soon work that out when you do a meet and greet and that sort of thing.
Yeah. I think, though, as an attendee to a workshop, I think you've also got to say different people are all, as you said earlier, different people are at different points in their journey. Some people are going to know more about something than you might, or some people are going to know less. And to be honest, that shouldn't matter. And as you say, there's no stupid questions. If you want to learn something, then asking questions is a great way to do it.
Yeah, Tim and I only take 4 people on our workshops. So it's 4 people to 2 professionals. They're getting lots of hands-on, lots of attention. Then 1 photographer to 8 people, which a lot of people do.
Yeah.
So we like to give everyone that individual attention and give them what they need.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
What's your favourite place to shoot and why?
Oh, there's numerous. Bombo Quarry is one of my favourite places, only because there's several composition you can get, and the ocean is never the same when you're there. It's been there when the waters come right up over the rocks and and when the seas are really high. And just the formation, the rock formations, there's just so much. It's just such an interesting place.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I really like that. I guess the South Island of New Zealand sort of
Nice. Yeah.
is one of my favourite places as well. But then saying that, so many countries, they all have their unique spots.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So if someone asked me where should they go and shoot, it would be hard. It just depends on what they like, because what I like, they might not like.
Yeah.
I'm a real stickler for dead trees, and because that's quite evident in a lot of my photos, and old jetties. I just love old jetties and that sort of thing. Yeah, everyone's different. It's really hard. Like Horsehead Rock, that's another favourite spot. It's getting a bit harder to get to nowadays with my knee replacement and things. But yeah, it's just, yeah, everything's a favourite place if I've got the right conditions.
Fair enough. How does where you live influence how and what you shoot?
Good question. When I first started photography, I used to think the local area was wonderful, but now I don't tend to shoot so much here in the local area, only because a lot of the locals don't get out of their comfort zone, don't go out of their own area. So that's all you're seeing locally is the same places all the time.
Yeah, right.
And I'm a person that likes to be different and come up with different locations to what you're seeing every day. I like to broaden my horizons, and I guess that's why I like traveling as well, to get all these different places. Next month, I'm away for 5 weeks to Iceland and Norway, Italy, Switzerland, Slovenia.
Nice.
And that's with Tim Poulton as well, and 4 other photographers. Yeah, so that's going to be quite interesting. I've never been there to, especially Iceland and Norway. I'm really looking forward to that and doing the Northern Lights.
Yeah. Have you seen the Northern Lights before?
Yeah, I especially went over to Alaska back in
Nice.
March this year and did a 6-night. It was all just, we shot all night and slept up a day. That's all the workshop was, Northern Lights, focused on Northern Lights.
Yeah, fantastic.
Absolutely phenomenal. Like, people said to me, oh, you'll never see the Northern Lights with your eye. The camera will capture it. That's totally untrue.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Like, it's just, you see all the colours in the sky and it's just dancing away. It's just, you just have to stand there and take it all in. It's just the most incredible thing I've ever seen. And then you get all the snow there with it, and we had it down to minus 30 degrees. It was quite cold, and your tripods freeze and you can't turn the legs in and anything like that. But it was worth the experience just seeing it.
Definitely.
Yeah.
If you could retire at one of the places you've shot, which would it be?
Oh, if it's here in Australia, it would have to be Kiama.
Okay.
Yeah, I really like Kiama.
Yeah.
I used to live down near there at Forest Hill, not Forest Hill. Can't even remember now. Out of Barrel. I used to live there in Barrel.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Walls Meadow and Burrawang and all those places. So I used to duck down to Kiama quite a bit with the kids when they were little. But yeah, if it was overseas, I guess it'd be probably the South Island of New Zealand.
Yeah.
Sounds a lovely place, but yeah. But after I get back from these other countries next month, it might change.
You might have a couple of new ones.
Yeah. But,
what's your most memorable experience taking photos today?
Oh, that's a hard one. I guess probably being at the Merauke Boulders. That was quite incredible because I got the great sky to go with it.
Nice.
Yeah, but I guess my most memorable time at the moment would be probably Alaska.
Yeah.
Got a bit spoiled. Although I did Canada just after that. I went straight from there across to Canada, and that was pretty awesome in the wintertime there as well. So
yeah, Canada in winter is a special place, I think, around Banff and all that.
Yeah, and then I went to Morant's Curve, and because you never know when that train's going to come, and I got just fabulous conditions there, which excited me. So yeah, no, it's just really pretty there, and I'm looking forward to doing the workshop there in the autumn next year.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, because I went there a couple of years ago, just before COVID, my husband and I, and it was the beginning of March, And I thought I'd go to Lake Louise and see this beautiful aqua lake, but got there and I was so disappointed because it was all iced over. I didn't even think about it being winter and that it'd ice over. But so I'm looking forward to that next year as well.
Nice, nice. What about horror stories?
Horror stories. I've got one where I was quite frightened, as I've said earlier, that I like shooting on my own. And I was up in Hervey Bay and staying at the resort. And I woke early and I thought, oh, I'll just go down and sit in the car and wait because it was just far too dark. Normally when I get to a location, I'm getting the camera gear out and putting it on my tripod because it's all on the back seat. But this particular morning, I thought, oh, I'll just sit in the car and look at social media. I kept the car running and all the doors locked. And next minute, because I'm looking down at my phone, next minute, knock on the window. And I nearly went through the car roof, frightened the daylights out of me. And I said, what do you want? And he said, put your window down. I said, no, what do you want? And he said, are you all alone? I said, and he's trying to look through the windows because my car windows were tinted.
Yeah.
And I said, no, I'm here with my husband. He's just gone over to the toilet. And that was the wrong thing to say because next minute his mates started coming out of the toilet and started coming to the car and he tried to open my door.
Wow.
And I thought, holy crap, I've got to get the hell out of here. And so I put the car in reverse and drove off and drove down the road. And I thought I really wanted to shoot this particular jetty because I hadn't shot it before.
Sure.
Arnis jetty, Torquay jetty it was. And I just pulled into the surf club car park there. So I drove down the road, waited 10 minutes, come back. And the minute I drove in, they started coming towards the car again.
Wow.
And I thought, I can't risk this. So I ended up going down to the other jetty that I've shot before where there was other photographers and runners and walkers and that sort of thing. So that really frightened me a bit. But yeah,
I can imagine.
Yeah, but normally I'm usually pretty careful about that. And Hervey Bay used to be a really safe place, but now there's a lot of hooligans and unemployed and they're all on ice and all that sort of thing. So it's probably not the best spot now to go on your own.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but apart from that, there's really no other horror stories unless you count cameras going in the ocean water, rock pools, saltwater rock pools. That's what happened to actually my first camera. I was at with Andrew from Nissi. They had a Nissi filter thing and I knew nothing about filters at the time. And Dale Sharp had organised it as a Nikon group meetup and down at Currumbin. And I thought I'll get there early. And I had my first crop camera and this $30 cheapy tripod. And the wind came up and blew it back into a rock pool and smashed everything. So I was just devastated. So then my husband says, well, go and buy another camera. So that's when I went the next day and bought a full frame camera. Yeah, but yeah, so apart from that, no, just when you do the astro sort of thing, you get frightened with the kangaroos.
Yeah.
Think it's a person, didn't think anyone else was out here. And normally I don't do astro on my own. I normally do it with the guys here locally. It's normally pretty good. Doesn't pay being on your own sort of in places at night. But around Brisbane, you know where you can go and where you can't go. Yeah, a lot of Indigenous and homeless people hang out under one of the particular bridges, and I just won't go there on my own at night.
Yeah, understandably.
Yeah, so you just got to be safe and be wise in the decisions where you go.
What's photography taught you about the world?
There's so much to see and so much to capture. Yeah, the world's quite a big place, and I guess you could go to several places all over the world, and it's an escape. It's a place you can escape to and really immerse yourself into photography and that sort of thing. So it enriches your life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What's your routine like when you come back home from your shoot? Are you putting the images straight up and diving into the edit, or are you one to leave them for a little bit of time and let them rest?
Yeah, I'm one to leave them and let them rest. I'm never one to race home and put them on the computer. I think I have over 2,000 photos to edit because I'm always out shooting and always all over the place. But they'll wait for a rainy day or when I'm not doing anything. But yeah, I've never been one to race home and put them up. In my earlier days, when I used to shoot with a lot of the locals, they couldn't get home quick enough. And now you got home from the shoot and they've got a photo up already. And I think, my golly, I think it's better if you can leave it a bit.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I don't know. That's just a personal thing.
Yeah, some people get excited about it and they see what they think they've captured and they just have to get into it.
Yeah. And I'm never one to really edit when I'm away either. I'm on
Okay.
holiday or anything. A lot of times I don't even take the laptop, but now that I've just got the new smaller Apple laptop, it'll be a bit easier to travel with and download my images. But yeah, unless I'm feeling really bored when I'm away and nothing to do at night, next month I might do a little bit of editing while I'm away, but I'll see what happens.
Yeah. What is your what does your processing workflow look like?
I used to be just purely Lightroom.
Okay.
Timothy Poulton runs editing courses. He's a bit of a guru, being background in graphic artist. He runs them on his property, and I just done an advanced one with him a couple of weeks ago. And yeah, so now it's Photoshop into Bridge and then Photoshop. There's so much to learn in Photoshop.
Yeah, well, there's more and more changes to it. The recent one with the generative fill, for example, coming out with 24.
Yeah, when I changed computers, because the laptop that I had, the internal thing in it wasn't big enough to handle the new Photoshop update. So that's why I'm going to get a new laptop. It was 5 years old, so it's probably a little bit. The internal hard drive wasn't very big to cope with it. But then when I got the Apple and got everything transferred over and I went into Photoshop, and all it kept coming up was this degenerative thing and with beta, and I hated it. So I ended up deleting it off the computer altogether.
Okay.
And people said, oh, no, you should have kept it there. But I think it's only an experimental thing, isn't it, at the moment with Photoshop?
No, it's in full release now. So the latest version or the publicly released version of Photoshop now has the AI generative fill.
Okay. And do people have to buy that?
No, it's not separate. It's part of the Photoshop subscription. So if you, with the Photoshop or Adobe CC, the sort of paid subscription model, then it comes automatically.
Oh, okay. I'll have to look back into that.
Yeah.
I haven't experimented with it, but
I had a bit of a play with it. I've got to say, for simple stuff like water or grass textures and those sorts of things, it's actually not too bad. But I've got to say, I'm unimpressed with some of what it does, and I've had a bit of a play around with it a few times, and I've got to be honest, the options that it comes back with are sometimes just a bit strange.
Yeah.
But or they just don't look they don't look very convincing. It depends a little bit about how much of the image it is that you're trying to mess with.
Yeah, true.
What the background is and so forth. But I did an extension on a background which was I was playing with one of my shots from Fiji recently. I just got back from a trip over there, and I had this shot of some palm trees and some grass and some nice aqua water, and I wanted to play around with the edge between the grass and the sand, and I wanted a bit more sand. And so I asked for what I thought would give me what I wanted, but it chucked deck chairs and things in as well as sand in, and it was kind of like, well, I didn't ask for deck chairs, so why are you putting them in? So, because I used the term beach, which obviously deck chairs might be found on a beach, but it just came back with some very strange sort of interpretations of what I put in. And I think if you're going to use it, you would have to probably practice and learn how to structure your requests in such a way that it's going to give you exactly what you want.
Yeah, I do think it's the way that everything's going to go in the future, to me, I think it's going to take away the challenge of editing and the fun of editing your own photo using the tools in Photoshop that you know how to use.
Yeah, it's going to make it easier. It's to be honest, I think it'll probably impact the people that are into composites a little bit more, but it's just, I guess, a choice that you could make. I usually don't add a lot unless I'm doing a composite, and then I'm usually using 3 to 5 other images that I'm blending together.
Yeah,
but it's I don't think I'll use it a lot. I can see instances where I'd use it a little bit. I do like the new remove tool.
I was just going to ask you about that because I've heard others say that that's really good and it does a better job than what you
Yeah, for me, it's better than cloning, because that cloning, particularly in certain circumstances, you end up with these weird patterns and things that you don't want, or artifacts, and then you've got to play around with it to try and get rid of them. It can still do artifacts, but it does a much better job of something against the sky or against the water or against a grass background or trees.
Yeah.
Where it's a confused background, it does a much better job of cleanly removing people.
Yeah.
Or
then like those
bits of rubbish or whatever that you don't want in the image.
Yeah, like you get a lot of, sometimes you get the ghosty people in the
photo,
especially the jetty, and you've got part of the jetty, and when you go to do it, it'll take away part of the jetty and that sort of thing. Whereas people say it does a really good job that way as well.
Yeah, things like dust bunnies, it's fantastic. It's really good at getting rid of your dust spots.
Right.
But yeah, I wouldn't overuse it, but there's certain, and it's not great when you start to remove large portions of your image. If you're getting up over, say, into the realms of 4 or 5% of your image, you're starting to get it sometimes leaves artifacts. Getting rid of those artifacts, though, is simply you just go over it again usually, and it'll get rid of the artifact that it created.
Okay. Yeah. No, you never stop learning in the editing.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. The editing side of things is always a new realm to explore.
I'd love to wave a magic wand and say, here, just edit this photo.
Yeah. But funnily enough, the denoise, the AI denoise, is something which I really enjoy as well. I had a couple of shots which were a little bit underexposed, and a couple of other shots that I've played with that I had to use a high ISO to get the shot. And you're usually worried about using high ISOs because you're going to end up with noise. And the way that it cleans that up now is absolutely amazing. And
I haven't tried that yet. I usually take mine if I need it, especially like astro shots or something like that.
Sure.
In Topaz denoise.
Yeah. I don't have Topaz, so I can't compare them. I have tried it. I did the sort of 30-day trial, and it did a very good job, and it was doing that well earlier than Photoshop's AI denoise. But I think the AI denoise there in Photoshop now is on par.
Okay. Yeah. I'll have to try that. Yeah.
Anyway, back to your work. Do you print much of your work?
Yeah, my walls are all full here. And then I get people that send me a message saying they want to buy this or buy that print. Yeah. But I also get a lot of requests with this NFTs.
Oh, yeah.
Every day. And, I just don't even bother with it.
I did a video actually on that about demystifying the NFT scam messages that you get through mostly Instagram, a little bit on Facebook. But yeah, most of the people that are coming at you asking for NFTs, if it's happening in Instagram or Facebook, is more than likely somebody trying to scam you.
Yeah, exactly. Because who has the money to pay what they're asking that they'll tell you want?
Well, there are collectors out there that are into that, but usually they're looking at artists that have already engaged in that NFT space. And most of what I've seen in that sort of environment has been through mostly developing personal relationships between the collector and the artist.
Yeah. So I've just ignored it all so far. So
probably wise. Probably wise.
You hear of so many people that get taken and lose their money, and money's too hard to earn.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
You wouldn't make a fortune just selling your prints.
No.
I make more money doing one-on-ones and workshop, a lot more.
Yeah, same.
The prints, it's just a bit of a sideline, really. Because people say, oh, you can take really good photos on your phone and we can just get them printed now. And I said, yes, you can, but you can only go to a certain size, really.
That's it. Unless you're starting to use AI scaling and all those sorts of things, which you can do, but
yeah,
I'm not sure of the point of that. If you get a good camera that's a full frame or a medium format, and you're taking a larger RAW file, then editing it, you're going to be in a much better position to use that as a large scale print than
exactly
an iPhone shot.
Yeah, for sure. And I know the iPhones and all the smartphones are getting really good, but they'll never be as good as a camera. Well, that's my opinion anyway. But you've got more control over a camera with what you can do, changing your settings, and there's no way on my phone I could take the long exposures like I do, 3 minutes, 5 minutes.
Yeah. It's when you get up into those extreme long exposures that they tend not to. The other thing is that when you're talking about a sensor which is probably the size of the nail on your little finger, it's not going to give you the resolution you want for large scale, despite the fact that they might say it's 50 or 60 megapixels or whatever the latest one is.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But it's still a tiny sensor.
Yeah. But I love using my filters, and people say, oh, you don't really need filters. You can do what you're achieving all in post. And I thought, yes, you can turn a photo. If you've got a few clouds, you can turn it into a long exposure and that sort of thing. You can put a grad filter on and all that sort of
fun in that, though.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas I enjoy getting out there and working it all out. And I'm very much look at my app and get my settings right, and then how long am I going to use if I'm using a 10 stop, whereas I've had a lot of photographers say, oh, I just guess. And I said, and how many times do your photos don't turn out? Yeah. Oh, quite often. So that's because you're guessing, and then you might not get an opportunity. You've missed that moment where you've got the color. I always teach all my students, always use the Nissi app. I'm a big fan of Nissi filters. I do have a few case ones. I do have the cheap ones, KNF, for students to use because I don't want my Nissi ones broken. But
fair enough.
Yeah, but they do throw a tiny little bit of color cast, but a lot of people can't afford the Nissi ones and they want to learn to do the long exposures. What do you tell them?
Yeah, that's it.
Cheap, and if it's what you really like and what you want to do, well, then start looking at your Nissi filters or something like that. But
the one thing I tell them is avoid those variable ND filters.
Oh, I don't know how people use them, Grant.
Yeah, I bought one way back in the day, and I just found real problems with them.
Yeah, and I don't know about you, but I'm not a believer in having a polarizer when I use a grad and an ND filter.
No.
So many people turn up at a sunrise and they've got the polarizer on and they're starting to shoot before the sun's up. And I said, you haven't got sunglasses on, have you?
Yeah.
No. I said, look
at you put them on your lens. Yeah.
Put them on your camera. And they look at you. And I said, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
And why do you need it with all that? But so many people just seem to think that they need it. You really want to leave it, it's up to you. Once you've got your grad and your ND filter on, you can't see unless you get your polarizer in the exact right spot to start with. You can't alter it.
Exactly. Yeah.
then it's really hard to fix that in post.
Very much.
I don't hardly use a polarizer at all, may the odd time on a waterfall or something, but
Situationally I'll use it, but I don't use them a lot. I mostly use NDs.
yeah, and then if I'm shooting during the day and you've got the bright light on the water, it could help with that. But I'm not one to really shoot much during the day. I'm usually a sunrise and a sunset person, but occasionally I'll do a day shot and it's worked out fine. But normally it's morning and evening when I shoot.
Everyone has creative blocks and challenges and that feeling of, I don't want to do this anymore, or I'm just not inspired to do it now. How do you get around that, and what strategies do you use to stay inspired and engaged?
It's an interesting question you've asked that, because a few years ago I had one of the local fellows. He used to be a wedding photographer, well-known wedding photographer and architecture photographer. He's in his 80s now. And he says, oh, you won't keep this up, and you'll burn out and you won't enjoy it as much. But I can honestly say, Grant, I haven't had that happen yet. I just find every time I go out, I just love to be out there with my camera. And for me at the moment, it's still something that I'm really enjoying, and I'd hate to be without my camera at the moment. And it's just, I don't know. I don't know if I'll ever not want to get out there and capture.
I think that's really cool that you've not had that experience.
Yeah, when it comes to editing, that could be a different story. I've got to really be in the mood to edit. Otherwise, if I'm not, then the photo doesn't turn out how I want it. And then you find yourself resetting and starting again, or you just get up and walk away and leave it for a few days. But no, never. I'd be out there every single day. If there was cloud and I knew there was going to be excellent cloud, high cloud, medium cloud and colour, I'd be out there every day. Yeah. I guess that's been obsessive, isn't it?
Definitely. What do you see as the future of photography, and what do you think is its biggest challenge at the moment?
I still think there's a huge future in photography, because there'll never, ever be places that you can't shoot. Yeah, the challenges that you would come across, I don't know. I guess if you want to travel outside your local area, for some people it would be a financial thing. The rising costs of interest rates and that, for a lot of people, they think twice about going places and booking on workshops and things like that, because they say it's just very unstable at the moment and don't know where they're heading. But for myself, I don't have any worry about that because I don't have any debt, but that's not the case with everybody. But for my own situation, I think there's still a great future in photography.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
What about challenges?
Challenges? There'll always be challenges, always. Whether it's you can get to locations, or just even just the challenge in challenging yourself, I think. Yeah, I don't know. I think for me, I've got to have a lot of patience and just even, it comes down to, I guess the challenge for me is all in the planning. Plan, then you're not sure of the conditions you're going to get and that sort of thing. And then you'll turn up and you'll be disappointed. Whereas I like to turn up and have those great conditions and come away being excited and full of those memories that it's going to lead to eventually down the track when I look back on that photo and think, wow, that was a great day when I shot this particular photo. Every photo I look at, I know where it was and when it was taken and the conditions it was. That might change as I get older and lose my marbles, but but at the moment it's really good. And I'm really lucky that I have a very supportive husband that lets me travel where I want, when I want, and go and capture all these lovely places. And so I think, and seeing I'm a cancer survivor, I like to do what I can while I can, because I never know what tomorrow might bring. So that's why I travel a lot as well and enjoying it at the moment. So while I'm still enjoying it, I'll still be shooting.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
What do you like to do when you're not out shooting?
I used to teach piano.
Okay.
And I used to do wedding cakes and birthday cakes. I used to be a professional cake maker and decorator. And I enjoy music as well. I did 8 years on the piano, 12 months on the violin, taught myself the guitar.
Cool.
So I'm a bit of a jack of all trades, really, but I can't knit or sew. So people will say to me, is there anything you can't do? And yeah, I can't knit and I can't sew. So
no, I can't knit or sew either. I remember learning when I was much younger, but yeah, it's never been something that I've wanted to keep doing.
yeah, and I guess whatever I put my heart and soul into, I like to do well.
Yeah.
Do it properly. And that's always been my motto too, with taking photos, sussing out my locations and getting that good composition. And if I can't get it this way, and I use my phone a lot for compositions when I turn up, and prior to a shoot, I'll do all different angles. I'll do high, low, left, and sometimes they're all great. And that's something I also say to my students, don't just stand in the one spot and take the same photo over. You want to go home from a shoot where you've got different compositions and that sort of thing.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Worthwhile, but some say, no, I've got it right here and I like this spot. I'll say, yeah, but you're going to go home with 50 odd photos of the same thing.
That's it. Yeah, the variation might be your shutter speed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but no, it's an interesting something that started out as a hobby that's turned into something that's more professional now. It's done me good, and I'm still enjoying it, and hopefully it will still be that way for a number of years yet.
What do you think you'd be if you weren't a photographer?
Right now, since I retired from nursing,
Yeah.
Maybe a beach bum. Laying in the sun every day.
Isn't that the same thing?
Yeah, you could say it's the same thing. I really don't know, Grant, what I would do. And that's the worrying part. If I didn't have photography when I retired, I'd be bored. I'd just be sitting inside. There's only so much playing of the piano you can do. There's only so much exercising you can do. Whereas photography, you can be out in the morning, you can be out in the afternoon, you can be out during the day, and then you've got the editing as well. So it really fills in your time.
And there's always editing, and if it's a business, plenty of admin to do.
Yeah, and planning the workshops. Okay, what countries do we go to? Normally Tim chooses all that, but we've got some interesting ones coming up. We've got Bhutan coming up for 2025, which is going to be very interesting. It's not a place.
That'd be very cool.
Yeah. And we've got Tuscany next year, which is that workshop's full. So Japan's really interesting. I really like Japan. Yeah, so many cool places, but yeah, and sometimes it's just a matter of coming up with different places where it's just not like majority of the professional photographers are doing. I know we do New Zealand, but a lot of the people love New Zealand. We do that, and we've just started Tassie for next year. That booked out within a couple of hours, but we have to go to more, I wouldn't say exotic places, but places where you don't see a lot of other photographers going.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and that just keeps people interested as well, because so many people have done a lot of the workshops with a lot of the main photographers here in Australia, and they say, oh, running out of places to go. But we are looking at bringing in a number of Asian countries as well, but it's a matter of fitting them all in as well.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
And you sort of look at some cheaper options too, Grant, because not everyone can afford to go to Iceland or go to Europe.
No, this is it.
Is expensive, and like next year we're doing USA and Patagonia as one trip, and that's full. But and that's actually not on the website because that was designed to suit my needs for those countries. But yeah, it's where New Zealand's not expensive to get to, Tassie's not expensive to get to, Asia's not expensive to get to, and we're looking at the countries that you don't really need a visa to get into, just to make it easier when people are traveling. And takes a lot of planning and that sort of thing. Like we're looking at Korea as well as a workshop. Not too many from Australia photographers that do Korea. So you're looking at different alternatives just to keep people interested. Yeah.
Certainly sounds exciting.
Yeah. Photography is exciting, Grant.
Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah, no, I'm still enjoying it, and that's the main thing. I love my cameras that I've got, and they work for me, so that's the main thing. So
Absolutely.
downsizing some of the lenses that I don't really use or need. I'm looking at selling my macro lens because I don't really do macro. It's a brand new lens, but you get it because you think you might need it and that sort of thing, but it's just money sitting there that's waste, really.
Definitely.
Yeah. But,
are there any photographers that you think I should be talking to on the podcast?
I reckon Timothy Poulton. he'd be a great one to talk to.
Yeah, he's already on the list.
Oh, okay.
I haven't spoken to him, but he's on my list. Yeah.
Oh, look, even if you message him on Facebook and get his phone number, he'll give you his phone number and just chat to him. He's an awesome guy. He's been at the top of racing. He used to race cars. He's done all that and won events with that. And yeah, he's a really cool guy. And he's a musician as well. He's got a lot on Spotify. He's doing quite well. And
Okay.
quite a bit of money out of it. There's another fellow called Greg Benz, BNZ. Do you know Greg?
I know Greg, yeah.
Or Max Rive. He's another great photographer.
Cool.
Yeah, there's some of the, and I think you've already done Michael Shane Blum.
Yep.
Before, and Izzy, because Izzy, I follow him quite closely because he's a long exposure man as well.
Yeah, Izzy Abalila was on quite a few episodes ago.
Yeah. No, he's a really nice
guy. He's a good guy, is he? I like his work and
yeah, and he's very helpful if you're going down South Australia or Kangaroo Island or any places like that. He's quite willing to share with you locations, whereas a lot of photographers won't give you information.
Yeah.
I get asked all the time, where's this? Why don't I put out a book of all the locations I do and that sort of thing? And I thought, I found a lot of them, most of them myself.
This is it. I think if you're willing to put the effort in to find them, it's not that hard, particularly with things like Google Earth, etc.
Oh, Google Earth. Yeah, there was a spot they were all doing, and there was a hole for dead trees. And I actually asked a good friend of mine where it was. He says, I got taken there. I'll have to ask the person that took me. And I thought, that's a bit strange. Anyway, I thought there's only so much of the lake. So I got on Google Earth and I found it.
Yeah.
Now I've had that many people go and shoot there and ask me where it is. And I just give them the location and put a cross where they have to turn and where it is. And yeah, it never ever bothers me, sort of thing, of giving locations, because if I've already shot it, what does it matter?
This is it.
But some won't give any info out.
No, some are very, very reticent to talk about where they've shot. I think if I'm at a place that's environmentally sensitive, then I'm a little bit more reticent to tell everybody where it is. If somebody DMs me, though, I'd more than happy to share it. But
a place on a private property recently, and he's got a big dam, and on his dam he's got this really old little jetty. And so many asked me where that was. Unfortunately, I can't tell them that one because it's private property and he's an elderly man.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have a gate that's locked to get into the property. And I'd hate to think that a lot of photographers were going in there early morning or late at night and scaring the daylights out of the poor old fellow. But yeah, so that one I couldn't give. You have to be sensible in where you've shot and that sort of things. I'll tell you another one. His admin I mentioned earlier, I actually didn't tell you what his name was, Tim Shields. You've probably seen him advertised everywhere.
Yeah, I've seen quite a bit of his work,
Yeah, he's won quite a number of awards. Have you ever done Peter Lick? Have you ever interviewed Peter Lick?
No, I haven't yet.
Yeah. He's a Pano fellow. Yeah, so he's quite good as well.
No worries. Thanks for those.
Yeah, no worries.
I got one more question for you, and it's the most important one that I ask my guests. Do you like pineapple on pizza?
Yes, I do.
Excellent.
One of my favourite.
But you're one that orders it.
I absolutely do. Always have to have pineapple on a pizza.
Excellent.
Why
Excellent.
is that?
Oh, thank you very much for taking some time to talk to me today. It's been absolutely wonderful meeting up with you and getting to know you a little bit better. Where can people find your work?
They can find me on Wendy Klein Photography on Facebook. Sometimes I put it just on Wendy Klein on Facebook. I do have Instagram, Wendy Klein _photography. And I've also got a website, which Tim's just working on right this moment. We've been talking about it today because he said the one I had wasn't very good. And that'll be wendyklein.photography.
Fantastic.
Process of getting that done. But at the moment, it's Wendy Klein Slick Pick. But yeah, so that'll be a new website coming up in the next few days.
Look forward to seeing it.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, thanks very much, Wendy. It's been really good to catch up with you.
Thank you very much, Grant, for spending the time.
Pleasure.
Okay.
Thanks again for listening to Landscape Photography World. I hope you enjoyed the show and keep listening because I'll be joined by some great guests in upcoming episodes. You can find my work in this podcast at grantswinburnphotography.com. I'm also on Vero, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. I'm Grant Swinburne. Hope to see you out shooting soon.